Hello, hello, hello. I feel so cheesy every time I say that, but it just is what comes out when I start this episode. Welcome back to Patriot Princess, episode 4. I am your host, Liz, not your common shaman. And as previously discussed, this podcast is ultimately intended to be a place where I bring in other women, other individuals that have been through just absolutely toxic situations, how they made it through, what they did to survive, how they thrived in the end, and just sharing our stories with each other because that's how we heal, is telling real life, is being real, sharing real life, and healing together. You're not meant to heal on your own. And I'm bringing this to you because I personally have been put in a situation where I was kind of like left on my own to heal and really scared to come out of my own shell and box to find community because the people around me made me so scared to do so. And the fear is what paralyzes most of us, right? And that's what we have to get through. And this weekend, I was just really reminded that community exists, even in strangers. I got more support this past weekend from strangers than my own family. Um, my one cousin, bless her heart, is so connected to me in soul and just knows when to send me the right encouraging message, which she did this past weekend. And um, yeah, just finding support is the biggest thing, especially when you're talking about sexual assault and rape trauma and psychological abuse and emotional abuse and the things that, hey, guess what? Surprise, we've all lived through because we're living in this false matrix world that has been designed for us to experience these things to keep us in low vibration. And I'm going to apologize again for the sound quality right now because I am walking my dog. And I will say, I'm doing things while I record this because moving is helping to transmute this energy. And sitting still while I talk about it has turned out to not be super productive. Not productive. I mean, I can sit still while I talk about it, but it's turned out to be more damaging. I can't get out what I want to get out when I'm sitting completely still as I talk about this. So, again, I apologize for the quality of this recording. Moving forward, after I get some of this stuff out, I will have better quality. I will have better quality once this stuff is out. And that's prophetic in general of my life, my body. Like I've been holding all of this information in, and there's no coincidences. Everything is a synchronicity. So the more you hold it in, the more detrimental it's going to be to your health. And this is where, tangent, pay attention to your physical health, what's going on in your body, and then see what's happening in your marriage, in your relationships, in your job, because those things literally take a physical toll on you. Ooh. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. I feel like the guy in Princess Bride, where it's like he's reading the story to the kid, and the kid's like, no, don't stop. And he's like, all right, let's pick up where we left off. So we're halfway through college. We were talking about Josh. Mm, he was he was really a detrimental experience. I'm walking my dog right now. He's an absolute maniac. I love him to death, but he is chasing rabbits. That's what I'm doing right now, chasing rabbits, huh? Finding ducks, putting ducks in a row. And so, if you haven't listened to my other podcast, ooh, the winds of change are blowing wild and free this morning. I feel them. Winds of change are blowing wild and free this morning. I love when spirit, ooh, and you know what I just walked by? I love this. I walked by a zip tie. It actually looks like it looks like a uterus and it's cut open. And that is a sign to me that I am breaking the ties that were binding my healing. Ooh, when those things come through, they really just hit you sometimes. Like I said, you're getting synchronicities and signs everywhere you go all the time. You just have to pay attention to them. And that is something that after I finish this podcast recording and finish my website, not finish my website, but get my website going, I will be teaching you how to do if you were so inclined to follow along with me. And it's trusting your gut. I literally just looked over. We're crossing this field, and there is a yellow ball, a yellow squishy ball with little spikes on it that looks like the fascia release ones that I use. And we're passing two, oh my gosh, two gas pipelines, and one of them, oh, two birds are flying over, and one of them has the numbers 1366 on it. 13 is my lucky number. Six is my life path number. And again, I talk about trusting your gut and not being able to do so when your body is unhealthy. And what is happening in college to all of our kids that are eating pizza and junk and consuming alcohol like it's their job, and energy drinks and Adderall and cocaine and abusing substances and other things. And again, this is the generalization. I'm not saying all kids are doing that, but that was my experience in college. And that is, in my experience, the prevalent ongoings of college, right? I'm going to talk about, can you stop? We're passing an orange cat and the sky is, and the orange cat is like Garfield. I fucking married a Garfield, a Homer Simpson. Hey, sit, sit, stop, stop chasing your tail, sit. I married someone totally unhealthy because the running theme through my life has been fixing everyone. And okay, I just tied the dog up to a post for a second because I looked over and there are four baby kittens, three black ones and a gray and white one just playing in this driveway. And they're the cutest. Hi, babies. Hi. This little gray one looks just like my kitty patches at home that I am about to have to surrender to an animal shelter. It breaks my heart because I'm moving and I can't take her with me. And it's okay. She's been my spirit animal for a long time. She's been my protector. She's my anxious little kitty that's scared of everything, and I can't take her with me. You know, the version you had to be of yourself to get through the battles and the war can't be the version that you take to the other side. And this whole little yard is so sweet. It's got a stack of turtles, a mama turtle, two baby turtles, mushrooms, porcupines, all this stuff for a little fairy garden, a bluebird and a boat and a turtle, seashells, and that spirit going, come on, baby. You let all this go so that you can be the version of yourself that you were put on this earth to be, which is a medicine ball. I've spent my life trying to fix other people, instead of healing myself first and sharing my medicine. My gift is being able to see people's hearts. And that's part of my problem is that I see hearts. And sometimes seeing the heart makes it harder to see what's going on outside. Because I can truly see who someone is supposed to be on the inside. Ooh, gosh, it really is such a powerful feeling. Whew. All right. So, trusting your gut. And that's the whole point of it. When your gut is unhealthy, you can't trust anything else that's going on. I'm literally walking by a giant cross right now. This house has a big old cross in it. This is the cross that I bear, right? The fight that I am in right now, ultimately for what I thought was a fight for my life, but Yeshua has showed me through all of this that I'm safe. I'm already safe. We already won the war, right? It's just the little battles in between that we're working on. The little battles that we have to get over. Oh, and I'm literally passing this license plate that says we have standards and a pirate cowgirl. We have standards, right? We set standards for what we expect. I didn't learn how to do that when I was younger. Mushrooms everywhere in this little lawn. So I get to college and my standards are skewed because my standards are based on the outside, not the inside. And, I allowed these people to completely abuse me. And I'm going to back up 2 seconds. We got up to Josh in college and I skipped over a couple things. And I probably did it subconsciously because it's something that I did to someone else that I need to hold myself accountable for. And there was somebody named Brian, which is my ex's name, not the same Brian. This was Brian with a Y. But I sexually assaulted him, actually. And it took me a really long time to realize and take it into account that that's what happened. And he was somebody that he was in my chemistry lab. He was a baseball player, very good looking, super fit, tall. And like I mentioned in my other podcast, again, if you haven't listened to the other episodes of this build, you got to go back and listen to the other ones, or you're going to be kind of lost. I mean, it might be entertaining, but you're coming in the middle. And I, he was somebody that felt safe. He was somebody that felt safe as physically protecting. And that is what I was really attracted to at that point in time, because again, I had always kind of gone for stick with the smaller guy. I tried to break up with my high school boyfriend multiple times because I was interested in another boy. And my mother and my ex guilted me into staying with him. I stayed with somebody I didn't want to be with because my mom made me feel guilty about it. Because my mom thought that that's what I should do because she had a relationship with him. She didn't want me to mess it up. She ruined her relationship with her high school sweetheart because of fear. She ended a relationship because she got pregnant as a teenager and decided to have an abortion because she believed her family would be shamed. And then she ended the relationship with the father, who, she later told me was the love of her life, because she couldn't look at him and not think about the decision that she had made. And that breaks my heart sometimes when I think about it. And it just made me feel for her so much more when I think about that. But at the same time, don't make your kids make decisions based off the things that you did or the things that you're trying to fix in yourself. Fix yourself, and then you can worry about what's happening with them. Oh, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Whew. So, this is the part where I said I needed to back up because I left a couple things out. And one of them was this Brian situation. He was someone who felt safe. He was in chemistry labs. He was a baseball player, felt physically safe. And he seemed to pursue me, which I wasn't used to. I wasn't used to being desired, being wanted. I'd kind of hit like the pretty phase going into college and was getting attention. And again, I stayed with my high school boyfriend instead of breaking up before we went to college. And it totally ended in this just like messy, nasty situation. But I cheated on him with this baseball player. And it was like, I got set up the first time he invited me over. And when I got there, he was literally getting out of the shower and wearing nothing but a towel. And it was like a total setup. And what am I doing? A 17-year-old, 18-year-old, I think it was a sophomore that year. Yeah, because he was a freshman. He was younger than me. And I just totally fell for it and ended up hooking up with him and keeping it a secret. And then my ex was cheating on, like, it was so what you put out there is what comes back to you, right? So my ex was cheating on me through this whole scenario too. We were just cheating on each other because neither of us wanted to be with each other anymore, but we didn't want to say it. And that's like the theme. I'm getting divorced right now because neither of us wanted to be with each other. We just didn't know how to say it. My ex tries to blame everything on me, like, well, what did you do to me? And how could you be with me? And all this stuff. And it's like, you never really liked me either. How many times did I say to you, do you even like me? Because you don't even think you enjoy spending time with me. And part of that was my level of intelligence. He was bothered by my level of intelligence. And that's been an issue my whole life with men. But this baseball player, we hooked up that first time. And then it kind of got weird. And he found out I worked at Hooters from his, buddies, and um just and it was like a conquest kind of thing. But I invited him to a sorority event. We had an annual bonfire, and I invited him to come with me. And he did. And we actually had kind of a like fun night hanging out with friends. It seemed like almost a little bit of a um natural interaction. But it was like, also, don't post pictures from this because I'm dating somebody and I don't want them to see me with you. So again, this is the second iteration of Adam. And that's what I have to go back on, because the person I cheated on my high school boyfriend with, Adam, I did the same thing to him. We had a really good connection, but I made him the other guy. I wouldn't break up with my boyfriend for him. So what happens? It taints that relationship. How do you think they feel? Right? The stuff that people do to you, you do to others. We do to people what they do to us. And that's been the theme of, I cheat on people, make these decisions because I'm too scared to say how I really feel or what I really want, or take action or make moves that put me in the position to go for what I want instead of what other people want me to do. And I had to like really learn the hard way. But Adam's going to resurface in so many other ways that in this story. Uh, so we'll be coming back to him to explain a lot of what has gone on as well. And we'll be coming back to the version of me that should have come out much earlier. Again, the relationships with people that you feel like liberate you sexually, liberate you into being the person that you are meant to be. And then something happens that totally goes backwards on that and like makes you go back into a shell. And that could be karmic return too, how you're behaving, how you handle that situation, and the energy that comes back to you as a result of how you're handling it. And I yeah, I invited Brian to this bonfire. We had a good time on the bus home. I gave him a gave him a blowjob with a bunch of people around us because I thought that's what was expected, I guess. And then when we got back to his apartment and we were going to sleep, I wanted to have sex and he did not. And that was a scenario where, well, bells, where this is hard to talk about, but he didn't want to. We were both drinking. We were both not thinking clearly. And I was the one going, oh, come on, come on, come on. And he just kind of said, fine, whatever. And I climbed on top and it's not like it was very long. I think he was half asleep during it. And guess what? That's happened to me. That has happened to me. What you do to people, what people have done to you, you will do to others. And as I say this, I remember a sexual assault scenario that's just completely like I erased out of my mind because I don't like to think about it. And this is how it happens. This is how the stuff comes up, the stuff that you erase, the stuff that you try not to remember when you start talking. It starts coming up for you to remind you, hey, here's something else you got to talk about. And I was sexually assaulted on a cruise with my best friend and her parents. It was our gift from graduating high school. They took us on a cruise to a couple different spots but we in Mexico. And the last night we were there, we kept trying to sneak into the nightclub because you only need to be 18 to be into the nightclub. And I think it was like right before our birthdays. We were just like, oh, we want to go to the nightclub so bad. We wanted to hang out with the older kids. And we kept trying to sneak in. And at one point, I think we kept finally getting in. There was like one security lady that was all over us that was trying to keep us out. But we had met like another group of kids that were like people that were there for these couple of brothers and their family, and the one brother had just graduated from college and we were graduating from high school. And I thought the brother was super cute and was like kind of flirting with the brother. But the brother found a different girl that he liked, one that was more mature than me. Back to my, again, not feeling like, I don't know, feminine enough, adulty and womanly enough to attract a real man. So I kept going for, what I perceived as boys. And um and the brother ended up, I remember having sex with some girl in the bathroom, this girl in the bathroom, while we were all like hanging out on the porch. They went in the bathroom and had sex. Maybe that's why bathroom sex is a weird kink for me. Oh, is that why I had sex with Josh in the bathroom? Huh, there you go. See how that stuff comes through? And you figure out your kinks in these situations too, why certain things come out for you. Um, I ended up on the last night, we all got together. We somehow snuck a bottle of absolute vanilla vodka. Somebody got it from the duty-free store. And look, I'm going duty free here. We're talking about all the shit. We're dumping everything out. And we sat in this room and passed around these double size shot glass, just taking shot after shot after shot of vodka. And I was with you know, my best friend at the time, and she was my childhood best friend. We grew up together. And I guess maybe she wasn't drinking as much as I was. But, I grew up around an alcoholic. I was kind of the one that was like, "Oh, I can drink anybody under the table, just watch." One of those. And I I got so intoxicated, so incredibly intoxicated. And I mean, I had alcohol poisoning, 100%. I spent the evening like passed out on the deck of this ship, going from spot to spot where they were moving my head. Like I would throw up in one spot and then they would move my head to another spot and I'd throw up in that spot. And I was like laying on the deck of the boat getting sick. I was going into the bathroom getting sick. I was just, it's a miracle that I survived that, to be quite honest. And that's one of those situations where my best friend really didn't do anything to protect me. I mean, yes, she was moving my head out of the spots of throw up, but she wasn't doing anything to keep me safe because she was scared of getting in trouble. And that is in itself part of the other lesson. What do we do or not do for our friends because we are worried about getting ourselves in trouble? And I've been there before, even recently. And gosh, it's so unfortunate how we throw each other under the bus or leave each other under the bus because we're scared of stepping up. And like that has been really ultimately my lesson right now is you have all this information. You have all this stuff to help other people. You know all of these things to help wake people up to what's going on around them. And you've been scared to talk about it because you've been scared of what, getting in trouble? You've been scared of what people were going to think of you or what they would do to you or take your kids. Well, guess what? You stayed quiet and they took your kids anyway. So now it's time to speak up. And all of this stuff that we've lived through is trauma that holds in your tissue. And me not talking about it has prevented me from like really stepping into my gifts because I haven't allowed myself to heal fully. And healing is not linear. Again, I'm not saying that just this iteration of me talking about it is fully healing, but it's getting it out so that I can continue in this healing process and using the tools that I know are available for all of us to help heal because it's about healing together and supporting each other. Whew. So we backed up to this cruise situation. Gosh, we were at Josh, we backed up to Brian, we backed up to Adam, we backed up to the cruise. You got to go backwards to go forwards, right? When you haven't cleaned up backwards yet. So, but you don't dwell there, you don't stay there. So, after I kept getting moved around, throwing up everywhere all over the deck of the cruise ship, I took I went back to our my room with the younger brother that we had met. My best friend went to somebody else's room. I think she hooks up with somebody else. And I had sex with him. He was a virgin. And it's like you remember snippets, but like I was so incredibly intoxicated. How anyone could think that that was consent is beyond me. And then what happened after that is when my ex found out about it. Ultimately, when we broke up, it all came out. And I was like completely shamed, completely shamed. You cheated on me. I was sexually assaulted. I was so incredibly intoxicated. I can't imagine that making this decision could be considered cheating or a like viable, I knew what I was doing and chose to do it type of situation. And that again is how like when my high school boyfriend and I ended up breaking up in college and I say it was this messy situation, it's because I was screwing around with that Josh guy. I found somebody else I liked more, which again, my relationship with my high school sweetheart Wes was completely done at this point. We were just miserable to each other. We were treating each other horribly because neither of us wanted to be in the relationship anymore, but neither of us wanted to be the one to end it. Because whoever ends it ends up being the bad guy. And I'm the one that ended it. But after the fact, like, just the cheating came out. And again, the cheating came out so that the truth could come out. But the cheating came out because I stayed with him. I cheated because I stayed with him when I didn't want to. Why do people cheat? Because they're in a relationship that makes them unhappy. They're not getting what they need out of the relationship. So they cheat, whether it's emotionally, physically. I say my ex was cheating on me with alcohol, golf, and his mother. I still get synchronicities that there's more to it, but we'll find out what comes out. The truth will be revealed. Um, so yeah, that whole I got sexually assaulted got turned into I was a cheater. And that was, I personally thought, incredibly unfair. But in that scenario, didn't really put it all together that way. And my ex found out I cheated because I called one of our friends really drunk and told him about everything I did. And then he turned around and told my ex, and he was like, I'm sorry, I had to. I couldn't just sit on this information and not know. And do you know what I did? I excommunicated that friend, told him what a horrible friend he was, and punished him forever for being honest, right? What do we do to people that tell our secrets? We cut them when we're not ready, we cut them out. I cut out a friend for being honest because I wanted him to keep my secret. And, I feel like I got cut out by a bunch of friends right now for being honest about stuff. And, there's all kinds of secrets that they want me to keep that I won't be keeping anymore. But this isn't the episode of this podcast to release them all. Um, we're releasing a bunch of stuff, but this isn't the one today. And yeah, yeah. I Ooh, that one was kind of heavy. Just hit me a little bit. Okay. So we backed up to Adam, how I cheated on my high school boyfriend with Adam, who was someone who felt new and exciting and was kind of like a bad boy and was, interested in me and attracted to me, which I wasn't used to in, kind of a bigger, attractive, manlier version. And I had kind of just gotten on my, like, had my summer breakthrough where I turned pretty. It was the summer I turned pretty. And this boy was interested in me, and I wanted to explore it. And my mother made me feel bad for that. So I snuck around with him. And then it all came out. And then I was the cheating whore. And it was this whole like back and forth through the end of high school where I then made him the other guy because I want to, I didn't want to be uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is the price of admission to a meaningful life, right? Making my morning coffee right now, my mud water, trying to get into my morning routine and being uncomfortable. When I talk about being uncomfortable being the price of admission to a meaningful life, I'm in an uncomfortable situation right now. We're going to figure out what to do with this camper. It's an absolute disaster because I've just been dumping everything out and not getting organized and not getting myself into a routine because I've been falling back into the matrix of living in fear, being scared what people were going to do to me, doing what other people wanted me to do instead of what I wanted to do. And here we are. Oh, I had to pause to go put laundry in, and it's 8:17 on my clock when I come back. 8, our infinity number, where we're creating from, and 17, the number of the 144,000. Speak up, ladies, because you're in hiding. You can't step into your gifts. But this is what the matrix is, right? It keeps us in this false reality where we're sending our kids to college to just be victims of whatever else is being put in place to keep them under their gifts. And that's what happened to me in college. I can go back and see all the places where I was there to step into a gift. I was there to get into the psychology and sociology and the philosophy of law. And instead, I got sucked into drinking and partying and Greek life and just the opposite of what I was there to create with. But again, I lived through all this stuff so that I could talk about it, so that I could share it, so that I could learn the necessary lessons. Ooh. So here we are. We jingle bells, there's jingle bells going. Jingle bells freeze the slaves, right? So we're in this situation where, karmic energy returns back. Yeah. I cheated on my high school sweetheart because I didn't want to break up with him and made, the guy that I really liked and wanted to be with the other guy. So what, happens with him? He turns around and tells my ex about the cheating because he really liked me and wanted to be with me, but he was pissed that I made him the other guy. And that carried forward. And then I went to college, cheated on my ex with, someone similar that felt like a protector, felt like somebody I wanted to be with. And I wouldn't break up with my boyfriend. So I cheated on my boyfriend with this guy, made him the other guy, and ended up, sexually assaulting him in the process. I then, cheated on my boyfriend again with somebody else that I felt was liberating me sexually so that he could then turn around and basically use that against me and make me a toy and, not want to do anything with me other than drink and use me as a play toy. And that's what we've taught men to do is use women as toys, right? So if a if you're gonna let a guy treat you like a toy, treat you like a doll, let's be Annabelle. Huh? Which, funnily enough, side note, I'm in Gettysburg, PA, and Annabelle was here a few weeks ago, and it was bike week, and like bike week as in motorcycle week, and Annabelle was here, and there was all kinds of strange stuff that occurred related to her presence. And actually, I think one of the people that was carrying her died um, in, I think he had a heart attack. Um, but that shit, that shit's real, people. Those negative energies, all the stuff associated with dark energy, dark entities, it's real. You have to protect yourself. And I didn't learn how to protect myself for a long time, and I'm still learning. Um, but yeah, treated me like a toy. And what happened, I ended up like hooking up with, sleeping with, having sex with, allowing myself to be used by friends of his, by people in that circle. And I didn't really think much of it because, well, the guys did it, right? If the guys are doing it, we can do it too. No, 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 ladies. The guys are doing it, but you can't do it. If you do it, you're a whore, right? But we're not allowed to say that about them. We're not allowed to say that about them. They get to do what they want, and it's okay. And that theme carried forward for me. After that year, this was the year I became heavily involved in cocaine related to this group of people, Josh and the group of people that I was hanging out with. And that's the same group that in my last episode I talked about how, I realized I thought these people were my friends, and it's like I thought I was safe around them. And then I realized, no, if I were passed out on this couch and somebody wanted to sexually assault me and have their way with me, they would probably let them and not do anything to protect me. And that was my own, again, misjudgment because I can see people at their heart instead of what they're giving us on the outside. And actually, one of the guys in that group, um, I ended up kind of following later in life. He had some issues. His family, again, one of the rich kids with too much money, too much time on his hands, completely involved, like wrapped up into cocaine. And his family owned like a bunch of daycares. And he got in trouble for being out downtown in Greenville, South Carolina, running his mouth about cocaine and getting arrested and like bringing shame on the family honor. And he had to step down, and his wife took over running the daycare. And they built this gorgeous big beautiful home. She turned it around and turned it into some sort of like bougie kids situation. But um she stepped up and took the reins and turned it into something. I guess she saved it. Um, but again, I see the pretty picture that they put on social media where they built this massive, gorgeous house. But it's like, why does one person need all of that? You have those resources. Why is one person keeping all those resources? Anyway, that was a side note. But cocaine coming into the situation was, it just leads to rampant sexual assault and decisions that you wouldn't normally make otherwise because it manipulates your brain chemistry. And that is what the devil is trying to do ultimately all the time is manipulate your brain chemistry, manipulate your body chemistry. And when I say the devil, I mean, the low vibrational negative entities, satanic worshiping entities that are on this planet here to keep us from waking up to who we are, to the spiritual entities. And that's where you get me and the other extraterrestrials here in human form to help wake you up experiencing this human experience for the purpose of sharing this information and being here to make an impact. And it makes me wonder personally how different my experience would have been had I not allowed myself to get immersed in the drug culture, into the sex scene. I was working at Hooters, I was in Greek life, I was drinking, I was doing cocaine. That's the other place. Hooters was the other place where the cocaine use was just rampant. And actually methamphetamines as well, especially in South Carolina, just the crystal meth epidemic. My ex, my later ex I'm laughing because I'm thinking of a song that some guys on his record label wrote that I will share about crystal meth amphetamine. They grew up in a small backwoods town in South Carolina and it was everywhere and ruining lives, absolutely ruining lives with addiction. And I felt so shocked. I felt so sheltered to like find out that all this stuff was out there. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And that year at college, my sophomore year, and a little into my junior year, I guess I had about a year and a half where the cocaine use was rampant. At school, when I came home and worked at a restaurant industry was filled with cocaine, and it's people trying to multitask, people trying to be personable, people trying to just go, 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 go. And really, you just want to be like, oh my God, if one more person asks me for something ridiculous and frivolous, I'm going to lose it. So it's a like masking drug that helps you put on this happy persona. And then guess what? You end up having sex with a bunch of people you don't want to have sex with. You end up doing stuff that you wouldn't have done otherwise. And then we're all going, what the fuck happened? And this time period was also a time where, a roommate of mine was really struggling with cocaine addiction and in a place where she just like couldn't get out of it. And so I ended up bringing her to live with me. And I was like, you're going to get out of that apartment. You're going to come stay with me. And she was like my mom. She got clean. She was like doing my laundry and making breakfast, and she was engaged and, getting ready to go get married, but she didn't finish her degree. She was going to get married with someone who made her feel safe. But she wasn't honest with him about everything that she had been going through. And she had recently broken up with a former fiance. And part of the reason that she broke up with him was because he was sexually assaulting her in her sleep. He was on drugs. He was somebody in the drug culture. She was living with him and his sister. And I remember her opening up and telling us that she was waking up and realizing that things had been done to her while she was sleeping without her consent. And he had some sort of fetish with, you know, having sex with lifeless women. Creepy, creepy, creepy. And she was like, have been tying my pants at night in a certain way so that I can tell if he's done something to me while I'm sleeping. I'm sorry, if you're engaged to somebody and you're tying your pants in a certain way so that you can tell if they have done something to you while you're sleeping, that's not a safe relationship. And I was really proud of her for breaking it and for getting out of it. She broke up the engagement. She did what I didn't have the strength to do when I was engaged and I was questioning my relationship and I was scared to move forward. And I'm not going to say her name because I did not get her permission to share this story. Uh, but I'm so proud of her for doing that because I didn't have the strength to do it when I was questioning my marriage. And I forgot to mention while I was walking around with the dog, I picked up I saw this receipt on the ground, which again, I pick up trash and throw it away, but Spirit's sending you synchronicities all the time, sending you messages all the time. And I picked up this receipt for the Avalon Ale House in Hanover on Baltimore Street. And Avalon is where Mary Magdalene went after Jesus died to mourn, to heal, to go through a portal. Check 22/8. Good numbers. Ordered on 8/8. Paid at 8/11. Oh, paid at 9:11 p.m. Because by the way, 9/11 was fucking fake. The shit that has been used against us as a country, as a people, to put us into slavery. Oh, bro, it's so incredibly powerful when it flows through. Oh, whew. Um, yeah. So again, if you're in an unhealthy, unsafe relationship, or you feel like you can't trust yourself or the people around you, you have to get out. You have to get out for yourself. You have to get out for your children. And your story will make a difference for someone. Somebody will be affected by your story. So stop being afraid to share it because I was afraid to share it and I'm not anymore. I've had so much amazing support from literal strangers that I've traded information with that I am, looking for building community, but more support than I've gotten from my own family. Ooh, washing that dirty laundry. I literally just took the dirty laundry in. Oh, it's a powerful morning today. Okay, I had to pause for a second to regroup myself. And um, whew, okay. So we'll revisit Adam again because he came back. Oh well, he comes back in this story multiple times because he's part of the root situation and he's actually part of someone that's led me to my final calling and mission of, helping people achieve their own enlightenment ascension through healing their bodies, healing their guts, taking care of their temple, because that's what we're here for. Yeshua came to teach us the same thing. Yeshua came to teach us, my laundry cycle just finished in number 1, to take care of our temple, and that we create our own sin, and that no one is perfect, that we're here to experience and to feel and to learn, and that's where our ascension comes from, and learning through these experiences and choosing to step into the path of consciousness and the path of enlightenment and the path of ascension. He's here to teach us ascension, by the way, which ascension is rising to that consciousness level of the greater good, of coming outside of the matrix, of rising beyond what we've been told to believe, what we've been led to believe we're here for. And it's not work and slavery to pay taxes and travel every once in a while if you get a chance, and maybe enjoy life if you have a second. We're here to enjoy life, to experience life. It's meant to be experienced. Ooh. We backed up and went through the cruise, sexual assault. We backed up and went through me sexually assaulting somebody else in return. And then we moved into Josh, the sexual liberation and guilting of my sexual liberation. And what that opened up for me, stepping into kind of this time warp of just poor decision making and allowing my body to be used for other people's gratification and not getting the actual same energetic return from those experiences that I was putting into them, and the trauma that's been stored in my body as a result of those experiences. So that's what we're also healing right now, is the trauma that is stored in your body as a result of poor energetic relationship in your sexual encounters. And how it's stored in our bodies. Whew. And then I started dating somebody from Maryland, from home, that it felt safe. I started dating somebody for safety, not in like the physical sense, but like it was almost like that feeling of like I'm almost a little too good for you. So that feels safe, because I feel like you're not going to leave me, you're not going to embarrass me, you're not going to cheat on me, you're actually going to treat me with respect and treat me with reverence, because you understand what you have. And to an extent he did, but guess what? That wasn't fair of me, because I stayed in a relationship with somebody that I wasn't fully committed to, that I didn't necessarily want to have a full future with, because I was like, oh, it's safe. So I allowed somebody else to stay in a relationship where I wasn't giving them the same energetic respect in return, because I was wanting to feel safe. And that's not fair. And I did find out later that we were together for like 2.5 years, and it was like the rest of college that I stayed with him, so I didn't allow myself to get into a relationship with anybody else throughout college. And he was in Maryland, so he was long distance, so it was like that I could kind of do my thing without him being around all the time. And he pissed my mother off, because he was a
white, she called him a yo boy. He, wore baggy pants, listened to rap music, and I loved hip hop. I have always loved hip hop, and I have been like the cultural appropriation that was, put on me by my mother, that it was unacceptable for me to like this type of music and like this culture, because I was a white suburban girl in a private Catholic school that did ballet, and that was, a part of me I hid too, but I have always loved hip hop, especially for the beats, just the feeling of the music in my body. And of course, because I'm an extraterrestrial being, like I'm an angel of music. We are a symphony in our bodies. We are made of sound and vibration and music. It was the original language. Before there were words, we had vibration and we had sound. It's healing. So if you're feeling it, like, you shouldn't be made to feel ashamed of being attracted to the sound of something. And I was, by my mother. And society in general. You can't listen to this music. Yeah. So we pissed my mom off, which is part of the reason that I enjoyed dating him. Right? Things we do to make our parents angry. What are your kids going to do when you tell them not to do something? Exactly what you told them not to do. So, that also, his name, he was another Brian. The Brians that have come through. And he ended up dealing with a pretty severe heroin addiction later in life. That his mom shared about, and what it felt like being the mother of an addict, and what it was like to not blame yourself, to not feel responsible. There's more to share. We're a little over an hour. And I'm going to go take a shower. We're getting ready to go over to my house that we're selling to clean out the last of the stuff there. And I'm going to keep recording as I do this because it is a therapeutic situation where I am literally doing a cleaning out of the emotions as well as the physical at the same time. So thank you for being here with me in this process. And I'm going to take a shower and head over there and bring you with me. So thank you for being here, and I will catch you in the next episode. Love you. Stand up for yourself. Bye.